Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 5th annual STEM Day. We're so excited that you're here. We have another amazing speaker for you. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you to please turn off or silence your devices and put them away. Okay, so our speaker today is Dr. David Pablo Cohn. He is the technical lead for Google Labs. And he's going to speak with us about 4 rules for successful failure.
Hi. So I'm gonna try to. I bounce around a lot. So hi. So thanks all for coming. I'm standing here before you today because I want all of you to fail. I want you to fail repeatedly, and if necessary, spectacularly. I want you to set yourselves up for failure. I want you to stare it into the eye and dive in and fail. Why is this? Because I'm a terrible person. No, actually, it's because I want you to succeed. And did that work? Excellent. And basically, my experience is that anything really worth doing is hard. And that if you're going to succeed at something hard, something worth doing, you're going to spend a lot of time failing at it first. And so you have to get good at failure. The reason why you have to get good at failure is because not all failures are created equal, right? Yeah. In order to get good at something, you have to be able to fail at something more than once. And the problem is here, I have to stare at my notes. Sorry. Is if you set yourself up for the right kind of failure, then you can, with each failure, get a little bit further, get a little bit farther, learn a little bit more, and eventually get to that success you're after with a minimal amount of trauma, pain, scarring, blood loss, and all of that. So, where I'm going with this is the structure of the talk. I'm an engineer, so of course I have my outline. Number 1 is why we really need to talk about this and why I feel qualified to do the talking. The meat of it is the 4 rules for successful failure, and then finally is the most important thing I'm going to tell you about this. I'm not telling you what that is because I want you to stay awake. And remember, I'm a terrible person. Okay, so as I said, anything worth doing is hard. And so you're going to be putting a lot of time into it, putting a lot of sweat into it, and guess what? You're going to fail. The problem with this is, our culture tries to sweep failure under the rug. You get these kinds of ads. That's kind of disgusting. Let's see. In real life, if we internalized this, this guy here, I bet this guy would be a great dad, right? This is basically. That's wrong. This is what. Yeah. Okay. When it comes all over, do or do not. There is no try. Pro tip from somebody who's as old as Yoda: don't take your advice from a latex hand puppet. There is no do. There is only try. You do what you can. Okay. So here we go. Pop quiz. I told you I was a bad person. Why do I get to be the one to stand here and talk about this? This is an easy quiz. There are only 2 possible answers. One is because I am totally awesome. Yes. Thank you. I'm not paying you nearly enough. Or 2, because I'm a serial screw-up, and I just can't stop trying. B. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So let me tell you 2 stories. I'm going to give you, evidence. The shows where we say, here's one way it could have happened. Okay, path number 1. Who am I? Well, let's see. PhD in computer science. Pioneered a machine learning technique for my dissertation that is used now all over the world. Everything from web search to self-driving cars. Okay. got picked up by MIT, research associate, went to a series of startups, joined Google early, and became head of Google Labs and Google's, get this, instigator at large. How's that for a job? Okay, that's pretty impressive, right? Oh, now in my spare time now, I moved on from Google, and I now work for the U.S. Antarctic program for fun, going to Antarctica along aboard an icebreaker and helping redesign their data acquisition systems. That looks like, that is, boom, right? Like how awesome am I, right? Let me tell you the other story. Okay, how many of you here were here for Dr. Moore's talk, just this last talk? That was, that was inspirational. She really drove home how this thing on the right is more what success looks like. This was going to be me. I was kind of laughed when Dr. Moore said when she started, she was going to be a chemistry professor. I was going to be a chemistry professor when I grew up. I was in high school, I loved chemistry. I was going to be a chemistry professor, right? Applied to college, got rejected by almost every single college. All right, so let me back up. Let me tell you, back up before there. This is me with my 80s hair and my big sister. Yeah, this is what we looked like. I was about your age here. And this is my big sister. My big sister, when she entered high school, heard the word valedictorian and asked, what does that mean? I said, well, top of the class. She said, oh, that sounds cool, I think I'll do that. She, 4 years later, was a valedictorian, went on to Harvard, scholarship, PhD in astrophysics, got a job at the Princeton Institute for Advanced Physics, office down the hall from where Einstein used to work. Yeah, that Einstein, okay? You see that look in my eyes? So I get to high school, and sign up for my science class. Oh, you're Joanne's kid brother. Are you as smart as she is? As I said, I got rejected from all but 2 colleges. I applied at, I don't know how many, back then you applied to like a dozen or so. Couldn't even, remember I was going to be a chemistry professor? I couldn't even get into the chemistry classes. So I fell back another major. I'll be a physics major like my sister, because I am clearly as smart as she is. No. I muddled through 3 years of being a physics major. 3 years, and my GPA just kept going down like that. Near the end of my junior year, I realized I could not even graduate with a physics major, my GPA. Pulled the Ripcord, switched to computer science. I've been actually, writing programs on the side. And it's like, and because it's a new major, my major GPA was a brand new GPA, and I was now a senior, and I worked like crazy and managed to actually graduate with honors. Yes. Okay, went to graduate school, was rejected by all but 2 graduate schools. Made it to University of Washington to discover that I had chosen a graduate school where they didn't have any professors who actually taught the thing that I was interested in. But it was okay, I was going to now be a computer science professor, so I just had to get the breadth, get the PhD. I spent 7 years of graduate school, had one clever idea. 7 years of graduate school, getting ready to be a professor, okay? Applied for a faculty job because I was totally awesome, right? And the next year, again, I applied for faculty jobs. I'm going to show you my favorite prop here. This envelope, or this folder, I'm going to set the mic down just so I can. You see, all of the sheets of paper here, every single one of them, every single one of these things is a rejection letter from a school that I applied to for a faculty program. 145 applications. 145 applications over 3 years. I had spent an entire decade of my life training to be a computer science professor. You know how many job offers I got? Zero. You know how many interviews I even got? 0. Yes. I failed. I finished graduate school, and the job I ended up with was as a postdoc, because I told you that one great idea I had during grad school. I was at a conference. I was brainstorming with this MIT professor, and we came up with this really cool idea. And he figured that I had that kind of idea every day of the week. So he offered me a postdoc, and boy was he disappointed. It's like, that remained my one really good idea. So he supported me as long as he kind of felt like he could, and then was like, okay, you're done with your postdoc, you gotta move on. And so I joined a startup, and that burnt down into a smoking crater. So I joined another startup. That one burnt into a smoking crater. How many of you are Monty Python fans? Swamp Castle? Yes. 5 startups in 5 years, each one of them, except for the last, 4 smoking craters, moved the family coast to coast 4 times, ran through not only my life savings, but my wife's life savings. We were broke when I joined Google. I was 39 years old. I was an utter, utter failure. Remember that kind of straight line success that I showed you in that slide? Are we looking like that straight line success?
Downward.
Yes, actually, yes, you've got it. Straight like a line goes in the other direction. I've now put down the clicker thing. So, haha, okay. Remember the quiz? Okay, we're doing a retake on the quiz, but it sounds like you already are. Okay, why do I hit this? Is it A? Is it B? Or is it C? Both, neither. Yeah, I didn't get that job either. So we've done, I like teaching. So we've done the pop quiz. What happens after the pop quiz? Homework. I told you I'm an awful person. Okay, so here, really, I've just told you 2 different stories about my life's trajectory. Which one of them is true? Neither, both, right? I can tell both of those stories. Both of those stories are true. I want you to think about what your life is, and I want you to write both of those stories. I want you to write a brag sheet. Actually, write this on your hand, or write it on a friend's hand, because I want you it's best if you do this exercise with a friend, because your friends are the ones who can tell you just how awesome you are. Write a sheet that shows just how all of these awesome things that you do, all of these awesome things you can do. Okay, put that in one pocket. In the other pocket, talk about what a miserable failure you are. I wrote the humility sheet. I call it my crap sheet, but I can't. I want to keep this family. Okay, and remember this, because this is a really important thing. When you look at somebody on Facebook or somebody in the news, somebody who's like, look how awesome that person is. Whoa, they are. I want to be like them. Remember what you're seeing there. You're seeing their brag sheet. And they've also got that crap sheet, and they're on some days they think they're awesome, some days they're going, oh my God, I can't believe I got here. And this thing's gonna blow apart any minute now. Okay? So, the one thing I did manage to do through all of this nice circuitous path, is I had the opportunity to try a lot of different things. A lot of things, and I got good at failing. Let's see, this is to remind me, I tried theater. I was really bad at theater. I dropped out of grad school for a year and worked in Japan, hitchhiked across Europe. For a couple of years, I actually played rhythm guitar in a completely horrible, horrible band for which I believe I've managed to destroy all existing tapes. But that's given me, I think, the perspective which justifies me standing up here telling you that I want you to fail. So let's talk about what I want you to fail at. For the purposes of STEM, you guys are at this point where you're trying to figure out what you want to do when you grow up. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. But let's, a way we can try compartmentalizing this is what we're actually after is finding something that you're good at, that you enjoy doing, and that society values, where society and values are kind of squishy. But eventually you're going to be having to feed yourself and pay rent. So you want somebody who's willing to get you that, okay? Now the problem with all of this, the reason why it's not just kind of a snap thing is a lot of things you don't know if you're going to be good at. I thought I was going to be great at physics. I might have actually been pretty good at chemistry. I never got the chance to find out. How do you know that you'll enjoy doing it? I've bounced through 3 different careers. I said, this was great. Actually it's not fun. And then of course there's the question of whether society values it. So purposes of science, engineering, let's take a scientific approach. Maybe I wanted to do this thing. Well, let's form a hypothesis, create an experiment to test it, and iterate. So here we are in the meat of the talk. This is how you fail scientifically. Number 1, plan for failure. Number 2, fail quickly. Number 3, learn from the failure. I'm a computer scientist, so we have to have a loop. So number 4 is iterate. Do while. Number 1, plan for failure. Yeah. I don't know why I have that slide there, but okay. So ask yourself, figure out what you want to accomplish. Say, okay, my mom says I bake the best pies ever in the world. So you know what I'm going to do? You've all been to, Cara's Cupcakes or those cups. I'm going to open up Pablo's Pies. I'm going to be this world pie despot. I don't know. And I'm going to apply for a business loan. I'm going to take I'm going to rent some shop space. I'm going to open up Pablo's Pies. It'll be fabulous, right? Okay, so here's the plan. Ask yourself, what can go wrong? No, really, what can go wrong? Think of everything, for your plan, what are all of the possible things that can go wrong? Write them down. For each one of those things that can go wrong, ask, how will I know if that thing has gone wrong? How can I find, as early as possible, can I construct an experiment that will test that thing? Like, maybe my pies aren't that good after all. Maybe there isn't a need for pies. Maybe the market doesn't support it. Each one of these things, how would I find out? Do your experiments. And so I'm going to throw a term at you, prototyping. I'm not going to go into depth here, but it's worth, it's another thing to write on your hand next to the thing about the brag sheet. Prototyping, is a way of thinking, a way of experimenting, of thinking about, how do we go forward? How do we design these experiments? So let's say, let's just take a minute here and try some prototyping. Okay, let's say my hypothesis was that I'm gonna build pies. How can I do this rather than renting shop space and taking out a loan? What are some things that can go wrong? 1, my pies may not be very good. Number 2, people may not be interested in buying pies for snacks. What are some experiments I could do? Something cheap. How could I find out whether my pies are any good? Focus group? Okay, a focus group. So get some people together, have them try my pies, tell me what I think. Yeah, just shout it out.
Free samples.
Free samples, yes. Yeah, free pies. Who could say no to a free pie? Yeah. I could set up a table on the corner, and just, hey, pie is $1 a piece. If it takes an afternoon and costs you $20, it's an experiment, not a failure, right? Okay. Okay, next, we're going to move on to this. Okay, next part of planning for failure is always have a plan B. I've shown you this picture before, right? I love this picture. As both a polar worker and an aviator. So in 1897, Solomon Andre, who was an explorer and a technologist and an aviator, had this great idea. He'd watched for years other explorers try to make it to the North Pole. But their ships kept on coming up against the pack ice, and Andre said, I've got a better idea. I'm going to use this new technology, a hydrogen balloon. I'm going to simply sail over the pack ice to let the wind carry me to the North Pole and back. Okay? Great plan, okay? Here's what's remarkable about this. There are a bunch of things remarkable about this photo. Okay, so this was taken by one of the 3-man crew shortly after the balloon came down on the pack ice, a couple hundred miles north of where they launched. What's really remarkable about this photograph is that it wasn't found until 33 years later, still in the camera, on a rocky outcropping in the Arctic, alongside the bleached bones of Andre and his crew. Yeah, great plan A. Plan B? Okay, we're gonna fly over the North Pole. Okay, if the balloon goes down, what's our plan B? Always have a plan B. Depending on what you're doing, like Andre's case, plan C, D, E, F, wouldn't be bad. Okay, We're going to move on to the next thing, fail quickly. Fail quickly, fail fast, that's, Silicon Valley speak, we talk about that. Too many people think that this means fail quickly. We've already covered part of what really fail quickly is, and that is when we were talking about doing the experiments. Don't spend 4 years of culinary school and all of this stuff to find out that your pies are inedible. Do your experiment, figure out how to do experiments so that you can very quickly identify causes of failure and identify them with the least amount of time, effort, and permanent scarring. Okay? But there's the second part of fail quickly, and that is have a clear criterion for what counts as failure. Those of you who were in Dr. Moore's talk, she said, she came up to these points and she said, at this point, I need to be happy. I wasn't happy. That's my criteria. Pull the ripcord, get out, figure out what you're going to do next. To drive this home, because the Arctic and Antarctic are rife with great experiments of great examples of bad decision making. This is Ernest Shackleton. One of these guys is Ernest Shackleton. I can't tell which. In 1909, he had the chance to be the first man at the South Pole. He and his men went over 1,000 miles overland. First to cross the central transantarctic range, first to find the Antarctic plateau, cross. This is an ice desert, 1,000 miles wide. They got within 97 miles of the South Pole. And Shackleton, looking at his timing, they were going against the wind. The snow swamp, as we call it, was a little, they'd never encountered anything like that before. And he said, we could make it to the pole, but we're running late, we're running short on supplies, we're going to pull the ripcord, we're going to get out. The letter he wrote to his wife on return was, I thought, my dear, that you would rather have a live donkey than a dead lion for a husband. Okay. 2 years later, his rivals, Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian, and Robert Falcon Scott, the Englishman, both made their dash to the pole. Amundsen was a brilliant engineer. He had spent years in the Arctic doing experiments, learning how to drive sled dogs, learning how people who lived in extremely cold temperatures, the Inuit, made their clothing. He learned, and he basically versed himself, did all these little experiments before getting down to the Bay of Whales and went, bam, straight up, a month and a half in and back. He actually got back to his base camp a week ahead of schedule, and the cook at Framheim basically scolded him, saying, "You weren't supposed to be back so soon." His rival, Scott, decided to use new technology. I just realized there's this theme of using new technology kills you. He was going to use motor sledges and Icelandic ponies, and he was determined to be the first. They didn't know where each other were. Motor sledges broke down. They went on with the ponies. The ponies sank into the snow. He said, but we've got to make it because Amundsen's on the way. We've got to make it. We've got to make it. So they went along man-hauling, basically pulling their sleds on skis and on foot to get to the South Pole. This is what it looked like when they got to the South Pole. That's Amundsen's tent and the Norwegian flag there, with a lovely little note inside the tent saying, "Dear Captain Scott, I hope this letter finds you well." Ha ha ha! In your face. Actually, it was a very gracious letter. But needless to say, Scott was the second team to the South Pole. Oh, and because everything went more slowly than they expected, they actually ran out of food and died on the way back. So, know when to pull the ripcord. Know when it's time to get out. Okay, so let's say you pulled the ripcord and you said, this isn't working anymore. That's the Endurance, or what's left of the Endurance after it was crushed and sank in the ice. So you pulled the ripcord, figure out what went wrong. And there are a bunch of different ways you can do postmortems. There are three things I like looking at. Is what kind of failure was it? First, was it an expected failure or an unexpected failure? Now, remember how I said, at the beginning, ask yourself, what could possibly go wrong? That thing that went wrong, was it one of the things on your list? Or was it something out of left field that you didn't expect? Because if it was something out of left field, it means that you did not do your homework. It does not mean you did not understand this thing you were trying to do nearly as well as you thought you were you did. Next question is, was it a model failure or a failure in execution? Model failure, we're doing Pablo's pies here. Model, my hypothesis is that people love pies. Okay, so I do my little pie giveaway, and I'm noticing that people are taking their free sample pies, and they're taking a bite and kind of walking around, and I come around the corner and I notice the trash can down the hall is filled with pies that have just one bite out of them, okay? So it's possible that, maybe people just don't like pies, but it's also possible that, my pies, when they drop in the trash can, they actually make a thunk and kind of a ringing sound that I screwed up baking the pies. Did you actually do the experiment you meant to do? Or was it you screwing up doing that experiment? Finally, there's the statistical failure. It's Jeff Ma. Have you seen the movie 21, the MIT blackjack team that went and cleaned the clock at Las Vegas? Yes. Jeff Ma was one of the leads on the MIT blackjack team. Sometimes, the world is a very statistical place. Sometimes you do the right thing, and it's the right answer, and you just get unlucky. So you want to be able to distinguish, was this a statistical failure? Okay, so finally, we've gone through, we've planned for failure, we failed, we've analyzed the failure, we're ready to go back. First thing to ask, remind yourself is, remember how I said always have a plan B, right? Remember your plan A? It's gone. Plan B is now plan A. Do you still have a plan B? Because if you don't still have a plan B, you'd better not dive into this again. The next thing you ask yourself on the iteration is, if you had an unexpected failure, how much work do you have to do before you're ready before you know that your next failure won't also be unexpected? Once you've done that and you're ready, okay, you've got your plan A, your plan B, you've analyzed what can go wrong, go back in and do the hard work. Yay. Now, that thing that I was going to tell you about, the most important thing, everyone's still awake? Yes. Okay, ready? Don't do this alone. Failure is hard. Failure is embarrassing. Failure hurts. Our first reaction is to kind of go hide it and don't tell anyone what we're doing, because it hurts. But this, by the way, is Scott, kind of the lone decision maker. He was the guy, remember, who died on the way back? Yep. Do not do this alone. There are a bunch of reasons for this. First of all, failure causes stress. Stress causes depression, compromised immune system, serious illness, death. Okay? Stress can kill. Stare at my notes here, because I had a really good point here. Right. Stress can kill you. And even if it doesn't make you sick, stress causes bad decisions. And bad decisions can, even if they don't kill you, lead to more bad decisions, which can kill you. So here's what I want you to do. Share your failure. Get yourself a fail buddy. I just made that term up yesterday. Fail buddy. Unfortunately, failbuddy.com is taken. I checked. That's Shackleton, by the way, second from the left. What you do, actually better than just getting yourself a fail buddy, get yourself a fail team. Get a bunch of people. These actually don't even have to be people you know well. You can actually maybe pick a fail table at school and step back and think, and ask yourself and talk to your friends about, what am I trying to accomplish here? Why am I doing this? I find that a good way of helping me frame this thing is asking myself, is I say, let's pretend I'm really old, like 50, 53 even, like that's practically dead. And say, looking back on a long and illustrious career, what do I want to be remembered for, okay? And then say, how is what I'm doing right now gonna get me there? Sit down with your fail buddies and tell them. Say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. back me up on this, or give me advice, tell me why it's a stupid idea. And this is going to do a couple of things. First of all, it gives you some emotional support, but secondly, what's surprising is it actually improves your chances for success. This is Claude Steele, Psychology of Self-Affirmation. And he showed that by simply telling other people what you're going to do, that you're going to try to do this thing, or even actually, you don't even have to tell them, you can write it in an envelope and put it away. In clinical trials, it significantly reduces cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and I think this was 8th grade students on this experiment, substantially increased end of term grades. Just simply telling people at the beginning what you were going to do, okay? So, tell your buddies what you're going to do, and get together and listen to them when they're telling you what they're going to do. And then, when you fail, because remember, we're all going to fail, celebrate it. Tell them you failed. It's like, yes! Another bit of the thing. I showed you these rejection letters. What we had, when I was a grad student, is we put up a bulletin board where we had the wall of shame. When you got a rejection letter, you wrote a snarky comment on it and hung it upside down on the wall of shame. This one was, ICSI rejected me, and the note was, whack. Thank you, sir, may I have another? This was, this is one of my 3 rejections from MIT, and it says, you were joking, weren't you? And we celebrate this. As I said, I've moved on from Google. I'm now working for the US Antarctic program, but I'm also trying to spend as much time as I can writing. I write fiction nowadays. I get together with a group, we call ourselves the BATAC, the Bitter and Twisted Authors Coffee Clatch. And we tell each other whenever we submit a letter, whenever we submit a story, we get each other to read the stories, and if that's really great, fix this. And it's like, guess what? Plowshares told me no again. Yes. And whenever you fail, somebody else buys you coffee. So it's kind of the positive reinforcement. And because of this, I have 37 successful failed attempts to get published. My story is published, and I have completely wired on coffee. But actually, okay, this is good. This is good. I can tell you. You guys are the very first to ever hear this, okay? Ready? I got an email yesterday from a publisher in New England, and he's read my stories, and he actually wants to publish the whole freaking bunch as a book. Stay tuned. 3 years and 37 rejection notices, and a lot of coffee. Okay. So I think I'm at the end of my slides. Okay, reviewing. Plan for failure. You plan for failure by identifying experiments. Oh, look, I have a laser. Minimizing the costs by prototyping. Have a plan B. Fail quickly. Know when to pull that ripcord. Learn from the failure, and this is basically identify why did you fail, what type of failure was it, what you need to do before you're ready to go back and do this again. Iterate as necessary, and for Bob's sake, don't do it alone. Feel free to contact me, any emails, questions, or just like encouragement. I'm from the previous century, so I still use email. I've got Twitter, I've got Instagram, Tumblr, and all of those things. You can find me there, but email is the best way to get a hold of me. Thank you so much. And all right, questions. How much time do we have for questions? 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay. Here, I'll point the laser at you. Actually, just raise a hand, anyone. There's a hand. Sorry? The book is going to be called, it's probably going to be called 8 in 3 Weeks and Other Early Stories. Actually, if you go online here, I've got all of my crappy short fiction online linked from there. So you can find that there, and you can say he really is bitter and twisted. Question, wave your hands because I'm not. Oh yes, thank you.
How much fun is the Arctic? I'm a person that loves cold places.
Oh yeah. I have not actually been to the far north, the Arctic. I've spent 4 seasons in the Antarctic, and it's one of these things which is really self-selecting. You know, when you talk to people about it, some people go, that sounds really awful, and they wouldn't enjoy it. I find that when I talk to people and they say, that sounds great, I've always wanted to do that, then when they get there, they go, yeah, this is exactly what it is. So you know, if you think you'll like it, you probably will. And contact me, I can give you some pointers. Yes, you.
Okay. Which failure has helped you grow the most as a person?
Which failure has helped me grow the most as a person? Ooh, that's a good question. I think it was the the 3 years failing continually, trying to get a job, just pounding at the same idea of what I was going to be was a professor. I'm going to be a professor. I'm supposed to be a professor. Damn it! And being able to kind of let go of this and, well, maybe I'm not actually that good at that. What I'm actually good at is something else. And stepping back. Let's see, waving hands over there. I promise I won't point the laser at you. Wait, move wavy hands there. Oh, wait, okay, sorry.
So you said that FailBuddy as a website domain was already taken. What was on it?
What's on failbuddy.com? It's one of those. It's a squatted domain. It's you can buy this for only $1,700. Come on, now that's failure. Let's see. Since I'm clear. Oh yeah. Yes, you right there. What do I do about friends?
Rent.
Oh.
How do you pay your taxes?
Yeah. So it's one of the things I found about failure is that by putting it up here in front, it's actually much. One of the exercises, Mark Lesser. Actually, let's do this. Okay, this is going to be really embarrassing. We're gonna there's this exercise that a Zen monk taught me, which is basically you stand up in a room full of people and you say, "Ready? I failed." Anyone want to stand up and do this with me? Excellent. Okay, come on. Let's do this. Right now, let's do this. All right. 1, 2, 3. I failed. Yes. Woo. There's a special bonus prize after this talk. Comes to me. I've got some Antarctica swag. Yes. Yes. Find me also.
1, 2, 3.
I failed. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Next question. Yes, sir. What was that? What did I enjoy most about working at Google? So through my series of failures, Dartmouth College, University of Washington, Carnegie Mellon, MIT, I worked with some insanely smart people. I have never encountered engineers, scientists, mathematicians, even like admins and managers who were so uniformly superlative. Just so I was fairly consistently the worst person on my team, which is actually not a bad thing. It's kind of rough on the ego, but let's say you're going to climb Mount Everest, okay? Do you want, you as you are right now, right? Do you want to be the best person on your mountaineering team? No. If you're taking on Everest or Silicon Valley, or whatever, you want to be the worst person on your team. You want everyone to be much better so that when you get in trouble, they can haul your posterior out and up the mountain, right? So at Google, just being surrounded by people who were just so good, it was awe-inspiring. I keep thinking there's a hand here I'm missing. There we go.
So what exactly did you do at Google?
That's a good question. What did I do at Google? Actually, I bounced around through a series of groups. I started out applying machine learning to web search, basically to ranking. Moved on to applying machine learning to spam fighting. It turned out that didn't work very well back then. They've done a lot better. Moved on to the research team, then did machine learning for Google News, and that was the point where I realized that engineers were having a hard time. When Google was a small company, you could say, hey, I've got this great little idea. I want, web search for dogs. And, Larry and Sergey would say, yeah, sure, put it up. and you could just kind of throw it up on a side site. But as Google got large, it got harder and harder to launch anything because you were going to get sued for this and that and everything, and it required to have basically a full product manager and an entire team to get anything out the door. And this was very frustrating. And so I got a bunch of folks together and we said, well, can we find a way that an engineer with an idea can, with a low pressure, low cost, basically just launch something out half-baked. And we got buy-in from the company, and that became Google Labs. And that was just so gratifying. So that was great. And then 4 months after I left Google Labs, it got shut down. Talk about failure. I failed. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'm seeing, point your hands. Way there, back row. How long did I work for Google? I was there just under 11 years. And yeah, it was basically, when I joined, it was about 450 people. When I left, it was about 70,000 people. And at that point, it wasn't the same company anymore. And it was time to move on to something smaller, like an NSF-funded government program. Wait, no, that wasn't well planned. But yes, there's another question. I never became a professor. Yes, that's so sad, isn't it? Now you reminded me. Joking. Actually, though, the fun thing was, I'll tell you, remember this thing about me being a bad person? When I was inside Google, I created a machine learning curriculum for training, because engineers would be coming in with academic backgrounds. But in any case, I got to teach inside Google. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Not a failure at all.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna turn this guy off.
That's on tape.
I don't know.
If anything is, that is.